This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network. Visit jabberjawmedia.com for more shows like this one.
Hello, welcome to the first episode of the X-Man podcast. And I'm your host. I am the X-Man, Coyle. You might know me from my previous band, God Forbid, which is where the X comes from. I'm really excited to actually start doing this. This is, I'd say excited and also nervous, because I've thought about doing a podcast and even actually started doing one a few years ago that never got off the ground. And I'm an avid fan of podcasts. I listen to so many, and I'm such an appreciator of the form that in a way it's made me apprehensive to actually get into it, because I have such respect for it. You know, I think some people look at it as, oh, it's just some people talking and anyone can do it and it's easy. When you really get into it and you look at the high-end podcasts, the ones that are produced really well, and you see that it is a form of broadcasting, and there are so many different styles and ways to do it. So in a lot of ways, for me, it came down to, why did I want to do this? You know, because I felt like it wasn't really worth it to get out in the kind of marketplace of ideas unless I had really something unique to say, and something that I didn't feel like was repetitive, because it is, in some ways, anyone can do it. There's an influx of content. There's more podcasts out there, or you could say the same for music, than people can actually consume. So you have to do something really good if people are actually going to pay attention to it. So I'm definitely of the mindset, I don't really want to do something unless I think it's going to be at somewhat of a competent level. So that's what kind of took a while for me, was to really figure out, all right, how did I want to do it? What was the style, and what was my angle? Because I didn't want to just do a different version of someone else's show. So that's when I came up with the idea for the X-Man. And being someone who was the member of another band, quit, as a 30-something-year-old guy, and had to figure out what to do with his life and where to go next. And being a writer, and one of the primary subjects that I tackled was that idea, the transition of having your life being one thing, and being a musician, and a touring musician at that, is such a specific lifestyle that when that evaporates and you have to figure out what to do next, it can be extremely daunting and it can be stressful. And so that's what I wanted to pinpoint on, is these transitions. So I wanted to talk with different artists. A lot of it's going to be musicians. It's going to be people who are my friends, who have gone through similar stuff, and probably have had much different experiences than me. But that's what I wanted my angle to be. So yeah, we're going to talk about music and, stuff in that realm, but it's actually going to be about life and dealing with obstacles and dealing with challenges, because I think that's really interesting, and being honest about it, because much like my writing, where I think honesty was the key point of saying, all right, here are my flaws. Here is where I have failed, because that's what people connect to. There's so much out there of people and musicians and people in the public eye putting out a perception that everything is great and they're crushing it and every day is awesome. And the truth is, it's, things aren't that way. And we have these fears and these anxieties and things that we're not sure of, and that's really what this is. This is like another venture. This is something where I think about, can I do this well? Am I going to be good at it? Are people going to like it? And it's important that honesty, there's a through line there, Because I think that's what's interesting. There's very little interesting to me about someone bullshitting and pretending that they're just 100% on point. And, sometimes you're not, and I think it's I like to dig into that stuff and see what's happening in those murky spaces of where things aren't settled. I also think that podcasts, in a lot of ways, it's like having a website now, where if you're involved in any form of media, it's just, if you deal with any website, or writing element, or even musicians, like pretty much every entity has some form of podcast, because it's just another format to kind of give your view on things and kind of promote whatever it is you work on. As much as I've gotten into writing, I've always felt, all right, I'm working on a particular piece. It would be great to bring someone on and kind of talk about a particular subject. So to be truthful, it's going to be experimental. I'm going to try different things. The format might change and evolve. I want to do some topical things because I like that idea. I don't want it to just be biography where we're talking about how did you get here. I want to, maybe I'll bring on a particular musician or someone involved in this world, and we'll talk about politics, or we'll talk about sports, or sometimes we'll just talk about their particular life. So I'm going to play around with things, and I'm sure over time things will settle. It'll probably start rough and tumble like this, and hopefully with time we'll improve things. So I think it's important as well to kind of give listeners to this an idea of what I've been up to if I haven't been keeping up with it. To a certain degree, I'm a bit of a band whore of late. I'll take you through each of my projects, first of which is an original band called Vegas Nerve, which I started in New Jersey with a bunch of friends of mine out there. And with that band, we did a Kickstarter campaign to finish our EP, and it's gone great, even though it's kind of tough doing a long distance band. But we're slated to release that EP called Visceral on September 30th of 2016. Hopefully this podcast will be out before that date and you guys can check it out. We're going to be releasing it independently, so look out for any advertisements or things we kind of do to get the word out there. But it's pretty cool. It's a lot different than, God forbid, it's more rock oriented and more melody driven, but something I'm really excited about. Hopefully we get to do some shows. Some of you might have seen me play with a band called Maytal, which is everything is coming from the drummer Maytal Cohen, who became famous from YouTube doing drum covers, and she put together an original band, and I ended up going on tour with her band. In the beginning of the year, we opened for Queensryche, and it was pretty awesome. But unfortunately, we split with the singer at the end of the tour, and so now we are, actually since the tour, we've been looking for someone, but haven't really had much luck. And then Maytal hurt her wrist. She broke her wrist skateboarding. So things kind of went, we had to put stuff on the back burner. So hopefully I'll be doing something with Maytal in the future. That band is awesome. Music is great. I didn't really have much to do with its creation, but it was really fun to play and really great to get back out on the road. And I just joined another band, which you'll find out about later in this episode. On the writing front, I haven't gone public with this because I wasn't really sure how to address it, but essentially I started writing for VH1 as the modern metal columnist going back to February of last year, and unfortunately at the beginning of 2016 they changed their format and they dropped all heavy metal and hard rock. So that is definitely unfortunate. And I stayed on to do pop culture stuff, but their entire kind of way of doing things changed a little bit. So I wrote a couple articles, and to be truthful, I've just been busy and haven't really had a chance. And the guy I was dealing with left the company. So it's a little bit questionable as how much writing I'll be doing for VH1 in the future. We'll see. I was also writing for Creative Live, which was through their music blog dealing with mostly music industry topics and stuff directly related to musicians. And they put a halt on their whole music blog in general. So that's why I haven't been writing for them. So most of the stuff I've done lately, which hasn't been that much, has been primarily through .coyle.net. I've resurrected my NBA blog called Hoop Logic, did a couple articles for that. And right now it's just been, the last few months have been very music centric. I've been working on new Vegas Nerve songs. And I flew out to New Jersey to do a music video with those guys, which will be coming out soon. And I have a new band, that I just said you will find out I'll be playing with coming up. So writing has been a little bit on the back burner. I'm trying to develop a balance. I think it's tough. When you're a creative person, you have a lot of things, and I'm definitely more of a quality, not quantity guy. It's difficult for me to just churn things out. I really have to sit with things, and I take my time. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't lead to the most production overall, but hopefully things come out as they can. And when they do come out, it's stuff I definitely put a lot of work and pay attention to a lot of detail. So things will be coming. I'm hopefully going to revamp .coyle.net, and a lot of my projects and writing stuff will filter through there. And I definitely just want to stay busy and keep doing things. And the podcast is another hub for these things. I get to talk with people and connect. And I don't know, I just think it's an exciting adventure and a new thing to try out. So I'm really looking forward to it. The last thing I want to talk about is our guest, the very talented and my really good friend, John Boecklin, the X-Man from Devildriver, who has a new band called Eye of Tongues. And John is one of my best friends out in LA. I don't know if I repeat this in our interview, but since I moved out here, me and him have spent a lot of time together, and I've known him for a long time, and I love the dude. And me and him are the type of guy, we get together and we talk for hours and hours and hours about heavy metal and about music and about just the things we're passionate about. We really are kindred spirits. And so this talk was almost like me wanting to bring other people into the same conversations me and him have till 4 a.m, talking about Metallica or some tour we did back in the day. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. And he hasn't spoken a lot to the public, so hopefully there are some insights here that weren't already out in the ethos. So check it out.
Hello there, Doc. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. It's glad to have you here. We postponed. We were supposed to do this yesterday, and then I had an horrific back injury, so I had to postpone this. So I'm here hopped up on muscle relaxers and
Gotta
coffee.
stay off the basketball court, buddy. Gotta stay off.
I'll never stop. All right, I don't care. All right, I love it. All right, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get some some Terminator arms put in. I'll get the lawn. You remember the Lawnmower Man?
Oh yeah, Stephen King.
That's right. I'm gonna get Lawnmower Man back, even though that was virtual. I'm gonna get a virtual back. I'm gonna do something like that. But
I just saw that movie again. It's so terrible.
Yeah, it didn't. But guess what? Ironically, about the Lawnmower Man, now virtual reality is real. Now, finally, 20 years later, 25 years later, it exists. So we can be the Lawnmower Man, but better, and hopefully not kill a bunch of people. So anyway, thank you for being my first guest. How do you feel, man?
Good. I just want to talk about Lawnmower Man the whole time, but
We're not gonna do. Have you been on a podcast before?
Yeah, I remember doing them when around 2008 or something. And
that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and I didn't really even know what I was doing. Like podcast, I was like, yeah, sure.
You might have been on the first podcast.
Yeah, I did for Kerrang or something. Yeah.
Okay, right on. Well, all right. So the name of the show is The X-Man, and part of the reason why it's called that is because I am an ex-member of a band called God Forbid, and one of the entry points as far as getting into the podcast world for me was about kind of doing something a little unique and speaking to my personal experience and not just copy something that someone else is doing. And so I really wanted to touch upon that experience of what it's like to leave something that you've been doing for a long time, and kind of what the transition is like into the next realm or career or whatever. So kind of just starting from this, and I don't know if you've spoken about this, but how did you end up leaving Devildriver, to whatever end you want to kind of get into that?
Let's see, where would I start? I decided to leave the band, and it's like the best way I can put it. 12 years I was in that band. It was just like a bad marriage towards the end, where it was a poisonous relationship. Whose fault is that? I'm not really going to get into any of that stuff, because I think it's really in poor taste from what I've noticed. Stuff online when ex-band members leave something and they really go full out on the details of why and stuff, it just looks like just finger-pointing bullshit. Like, it's like it can really just chalk it up to, I was really unhappy. And, I still talk with most of the members, but to lay some truth out there, it was between me and Des that were the most unhappy together, and we just, I wouldn't call it public knowledge, but we've definitely, the biggest strain in the band was usually me and him, for whatever reasons, so it just came to a head over one of millions of arguments we've had, and it was really simple, and it was adult, actually, the way it ended. And I know Des has spoken about some of this in the press already. And some of the stuff he says upset me a little bit, but I'm not really looking to attack anybody. It was just, it literally happened via text, like, hey, man, here we are again, like another stupid, blown out argument, over something really actually pretty stupid. And he was just like, if you're not happy and I'm not happy, why are we doing this? And I was just like, you're right. Like, I think it's time for me to step off. And that was around July of 2014. Around July of 2014. And so, it was still handled correctly to the point it was like, okay, it wasn't some huge blowout like that, to the point where I was like, hey, I'll finish the Australian tour we have online. I'll do this Knotfest show. And then that'll be it, because the cycle was ending there. So, and it was like, okay. It was a bit awkward during rehearsals and stuff, knowing that it was my last time doing that stuff. But so that's when the decision to leave happened. And there's not much really else to say. I can give you plenty of opinions what it's like to be a person that leaves something like that, and where that leaves you. It's pretty brutal. I will say, use a word like resentment happens.
Resentment. Who do you?
I resent the fact that when you leave something that you put 12 years into, and you don't get to have it anymore. Because of relationships. It just sucked that something I built for 12 years. When we first started, we weren't some huge banners. We really had to work and build, and it's tough to just build up a company and leave, but that lasted for, resentment is just like, that just sucks, but that's my own issue.
But when you say resentment, you resent the fact that the band still exists, you resent the people in the band,
I resent the fact that relationships, to watch my words, it's like there was just no more options, and that I resent the fact that things got so bad that I had to leave the one thing that I built my life around, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
So you could be a little bit bitter about it, but it was also a very huge sense of relief. It's just bittersweet. The grass is always greener, It's I will say that after leaving, it's been 2 years more now. You realize some of the stuff I took for granted, some of the success and stuff like that. Like, I just thought it would always keep going, and then, I do realize now, I just reflected more how hard we worked to get where we were, and to walk away from something like that. It's just difficult. It's a difficult decision.
Did that happen
in the last year, a few years, or was it something that was building for years and years, like 5-6 years?
Well, so a lot of people don't know this. I quit in 2008.
Did not know that.
Yeah. I quit for about a week and a half. So this is something that I battled with for years. And you could look at it too. Dez probably battled with firing me, you know?
Did he have that ability? Like if he wanted to, he could have fired you?
Dez is the sole owner of the name Devildriver. So we operated on many ways as a democracy and stuff like that. But in terms of if Dez really didn't want me there, he could fire me at any time.
So his issues with you did not equal your wanting to leave. Like, what do you think was stopping him from maybe firing you?
I actually read somewhere where he was discussing me and getting asked about me and my departure, and he said, he just felt that the band members were, because he doesn't write music, and that the price he had to pay with me, because I was pretty much the main songwriter for a long time. He just figured that it's a price he had to pay because we were the sound of the band. And so when a relationship got tumultuous, that's just how it was.
I'm obviously interpreting what you're saying and projecting a little bit that the value that you brought as a songwriter, it was replacing that he felt was too much to just go ahead and bring the axe down.
Yeah, and the same goes for me. I thought, man, this is tough right now, and try and reevaluate. Do I really want to be in this? But it meant too much to me to quit too. That's why I quit, but I came back. It just meant too much to me.
Yeah. So do you know, and I don't know if you're in a position to say this, do you know if Jeff Kendrick, who was the other guitar player, who left at the same time as you, am I correct?
Publicly, it was announced at the same time that we were both departing, but I decided to leave, and it was maybe a month later that I remember Jeff called or texted me and said, I'm leaving too. So it wasn't part of the same situation. I honestly don't remember if there was some sort of final straw that happened with that situation, but it was based on a couple things. Jeff not really wanting. I know for years Jeff was not the happiest camper with touring, and then relationship stuff, and I think with the band, like me being gone and where his place would lie, he just was like, I guess he was over it,
Yeah. Well, Jeff strikes me, and Jeff is a great guy. Definitely one of the guys I was, close to. I mean, people might not know, but God forbid toured with Devildriver, I'd say 3 times or something like that.
I don't know, but that European tour always goes down as one of my favorites.
Yeah. So in 2007 or 2008,
7 or 8.
One of those. We shared a tour bus, God forbid, in Devildriver in Europe. And let's say lots of liquor was drunken.
Yeah, that was one of the more excessive tours that I did. And I look back on it very fondly.
I could have swore you thought about it as being like, you're like, oh, that tour was rough. Like you guys were having a rough time. I thought you'd said that recently. Actually, so I should bring something. So since John is one of my best friends around here, me and him, we'll get together, we'll throw a couple back, and we'll talk about the old days, like a couple of Vietnam vets, to the wee hours of the morning, and kind of rehash these old stuff. So
it's really cool to have a relationship with you. Live in the same area where we just been through a lot of the same things. So you and me, it seems like the conversation can never end. We can just,
except you guys sold more records and drew more people and made more money. But
yeah, but
he's like, yeah. I mean, but other than that.
Yeah, well, it was just, you had a long haul, so did I. And, hey, people have longer hauls, though, so. But, yeah, what were you getting? What was the point?
I'm kind of getting back to the point. Was Jeff's reason for leaving, was it connected to you leaving? Or was it kind of like, with you leaving, it kind of gave him an out or
It didn't give him an out. I think it just gave him the confidence maybe to be like, hey, he did it, so can I. Because moving on from that, leaving a band when it's like you're not working and I'm looking at 12 years now with no job history really, it's like it's kind of terrifying to be like, all right, I'm gonna step off this, and if you see someone else do it who you go, if he did it, I can do it,
Okay. All right.
Because there always was a feeling, to be honest, of being, like I said, I quit in 2008, came back. There would be many nights I would, I'm not going to call them sleepless nights or something, but like I didn't have the confidence to just leave because I was a little scared of what life would be,
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your time in that band, did it feel like a dictatorship? I know you used the word democracy, but did you feel like kind of under the thumb of a singular guy? I mean, considering Dez, and his success and fame with Coyle Chamber and how much that propelled Devildriver in the early years, just getting a record deal and being able to land tours with, Superjoint Ritual and some of the bigger bands, getting on Ozfest with his relationship with the Osbournes. Did you feel that power difference, like kind of?
Absolutely. And in the beginning, whether I liked it or not, rightfully so. Like Dez, like none of that stuff would have happened. Like my life in music, if I never met that dude and we never connected and he, his name got Roadrunner interested, and his name got us the tours, and our start is a much prettier than most other bands. It's like we really, I would essentially say, didn't have to pay our dues, and I would owe all that to Dez. So yeah, he was my boss, so to speak. And me being the kind of guy I am, just after years, that would strain our relationship. To answer your question, if I think it is.
Yeah, and and hopefully, if this gets around, I'd hope Dez understand. I really like Dez, and I've always gotten along with him. And had fun. We shared a tour bus. We had one little one little time we butted heads, but
yeah, I mean, dude, for every time me and Dez were just, you could cut the tension with a knife in the air. For every time that there's another just brothers in arms story there. It's like we went through hell as friends, and we went through the best of times as friends.
Yeah, and I've and especially his ability as a performer is something I've always respected and been like, that guy. There's a reason why he had that success with Coyle Chamber. Then, people don't. I don't think people really understand how hard it is to have success with two different bands in two different eras.
Crazy, right? And that's the thing. To be honest, Dez has been some sort of inspiration to me in terms of I'm in the exact same age and situation he was in when he basically quit Coyle Chamber and started a new band. Yeah. And it going back to like Jeff, what I was saying, if Jeff did it, Jeff was like, oh, if John quit, I can quit. And I'm kind of like also like, hey, man, Dez did it. I can do it. You know what I mean?
I think the biggest difference is that in many ways, the music industry really values the idea of the lead singer.
Yeah.
And what that kind of as a totem and a brand, we're just, they don't call him a front man for nothing.
Yeah. Well, Dez is also, I mean, I'm comparing the idea of the situation, but also Dez is 10 times more famous than I am as a name, even when Coyle Chamber, when Coyle Chamber stopped. So my road it's not as easy as it was for him too, because even when you think Devildriver, you think Dez. You don't think, oh yeah, Jeff Kendrick, John Boecklin. You know what I mean? And that's always and always will be the case.
Yeah. No. I mean, and I think he understood that, and obviously there's things that we shouldn't probably we shouldn't talk about on the podcast. These are more private details, but I'm sure some of those things are reasons why you're not with the band. Kind of pivoting off that, I kind of want to talk about Devildriver in that a lot of people don't know, or as far as I know, a lot of people don't know that you were, or maybe you can kind of clarify this for me, that you were the main songwriter for the band, for the bar. Is that bad terminology?
I would say it's inaccurate because the way the band even started, there was a guy named Evan Pitts.
Yeah.
Him and Dez, for the most part, most of that record was written by him and Evan.
The first
the first one. And then when Kendrick and I and Miller came in, good songs like I Could Care Less, Kendrick wrote a lot of that. But we came in just to an album that was pretty much done. So that is, I was nowhere near the main songwriter.
Well, but let's give some scale to this. That's the first album. How many albums since the first album?
Yeah, and then
5 more?
As it kept progressing, I just became more and more and more involved, you know. And then definitely at one point you'd be like, yeah, I don't think anyone in the band would contest that. They'd say I was the main songwriter, but
and in addition to writing a lot on these records, you were also performing even a lot of the guitar and bass tracking in the studio. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
I feel like I'm like we're in trial. Is it not correct that on the 5th you tracked the bass guitar?
Yeah, and that just stems from I guess you could say like laziness too on my part, because I'd be like, I wrote this, let's say I wrote a whole song, it'd be like I can play guitar and it's like I know exactly how I want it to be done. Do I want to sit there and teach the other guys to make sure that it's totally fine, or why not I can just do it? You know what I mean? So it wasn't like a power trip kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I never gathered that. I mean, I think
I love recording guitars. I love it. I think it's drums can just be a little physical and stuff. I just like recording rhythm guitars. Yeah, I am not a lead player. I cannot play lead for the fucking life of me. But I just love like tracking bass and guitars. I think it's so much fun in the studio. So it was never seen as like a daunting task to me too either.
Well, I wasn't even getting at that. I just think I don't really think the public at large, or at least fans who are connected to the band or connected to that scene in metal, really understand what how impactful you leaving and Jeff leaving as well did to, you know, kind of figure out, how is this going to change the Devildriver sound and creatively where the band was kind of going to go in the future records. You know, I'm just saying, like, it's the same thing. Like when Dallas left, God forbid, there was a big question mark on how was that going to change. You know, we were a band that had the same 5 members from 1998 until 2009. So it's, 11 years, and that's, 5 records or however much output, I think, or 4 records. I'm sorry.
Good example of that with the question mark thing. Evan Pitts, was the main songwriter, and they got signed off basically his work, So I remember when Evan quit. I don't even know if he was quit. That's a whole other long story. But in general, I remember Monty Connor calling Dez. He'd be like, what? He's the main guy. Like, what are you thinking? Like, he's got to be in the band. And at that time, too, Evan was very, not to use the word controlling. It was just his band, him and Dez's band. So it's like we weren't really allowed to write. And if we did, it would just go to the side. But so Monty called and he's like, talk to Boecklin. And so I got on the phone with Monty and I was like, dude, just trust me. Let me send you 4 demos. And this happened to be like, end of the line, stuff off the Fury, stuff like, and he was like, oh, my bad. Like,
wait a second now. So was this this is before the second album come out?
Yeah. Evan left. We, and we
but by the time we guys toured, you was still the first album and he wasn't there.
Yeah. I'm just talking about in terms of getting picked up for a second record.
Oh, okay. So you guys didn't have a locked-in deal for the second record. It was an option.
It was an option, but I mean, if you're head at A&R and one of the main songwriter leaves a band, you're going to question what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to be straight up honest, and I've told you this before, but I'll tell you again, and to whoever who's listening to this, is that I was not a big fan of the first Devildriver record. I think the whatever pushback kind of Devildriver got from the more elitist metal community, or the real metal community, however you want to say it, was that considering Dez's background and the way that kind of record sounds, it still had a big kind of foothold in the kind of more nu metal sound.
It's a very uninteresting record to me, guitar wise. There was so many stones left unturned. But we were just moving quickly, and that record is a vocal record, like,
Yeah.
you know, and like Dez did a killer job at making good hooks on it and stuff. And me and him would argue about it all the time. Like I'd be like, "That's my least favorite album." He's like, "It's my favorite," you know, like
Yeah.
or whatever. So, but part of the reason why this second record I think is now revered as our best,
My favorite.
second and third, is like there was so much excitement that Evan was gone, and that me and my 3 other best friends could write a record that we always wanted to, you know. So
Just to let you know, Evan, he just said they celebrated when you left. All right, they had a, you know what I'm saying? They threw a huge party, man. Just remember that next
No.
time you see John. All right, punch him square in the nose.
I love Evan. He's got a great heart. But
I'm just kidding, Evan.
it was like, hey guys, like it's on us now. Like we can, and we were fully aware that we could deliver something that was more fitting in the that was more competitive.
Well, also, you know, and I want to speak for you, but also more representative of where you guys were feeling, what music you were into, and what was getting you going, and what was, you know.
we were in love with, you know, since like 2001 to like Lamb of God, stuff like that. That was the kind of stuff
Heard
that,
everybody
that we
had
liked. But
determination.
the bands we were in before Devildriver didn't reflect that at all, because we could never really find a good screamer. So we started doing less heavier stuff. But with Dez, I was so excited, man. Like, you know, I love Dez's scream, and I think he's got a very unique voice, you know, and he stands out. So
I agree.
it was very cool to have someone that you had up a lot of confidence in, you know.
Yeah, it's you know, I think God forbid had issues probably before that record on Gone Forever, because we were like changing our sound to be a bit more, you know, dare I say, accessible, or more, I'd say, probably more accurate. Just we were striding towards being more of a traditional heavy metal band, you know, and kind of less being chaotic and mathy.
Determination was like more. Even what was the first one?
Reject the Sickness.
Yeah, it's very off the wall.
Well, I played that for
shit.
you. You never really listened to it, right?
No, you played for me a little bit ago. I was like, this is like Cave In, and like all, you know, you were all over the place. Yeah,
it is. It's like Suffocation, and then we have like beat down hardcore part, and then we have an At the Gates part, and then we'd have 77 parts in each song.
Oh yeah,
and it was it's pretty. It sucks that ADD and Adderall became popular years after that style, because if everyone was had ADD, you know, a couple years later, I think that album would probably be platinum right now, because people would get it, because it was, you know, we were zigging and zagging and going left and right. It's pretty crazy.
a lot of those early Devildriver records. Thanks, Adderall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. That was fun.
Good. It's good that's on record now. Just let you know that. Future employers. Okay.
No, you know, I mean, Miller ended up getting a little carried away with drugs, and I think that's well documented and stuff. And, you know, we've since rekindled our relationship, but in general, there was no real drug problems and stuff like that with the band and stuff. Drinking was usually the drug of choice.
Yeah. So kind of, you know, going, you know, I don't want to dwell on Devildriver too much, because, like I said, the show is about the transition from one thing to another. But there's so much from that I definitely, you know, I don't think
I like to talk about Devildriver, because I am very proud of what we did and how much we accomplished. So, yeah, I know it. I remember also too when Evan started a new band and he did his first interview. I remember it was a 50-minute interview. About 45 minutes of it was about Devildriver, and he was only on one album. You know.
Yeah, but he was proud of what he had accomplished.
That's what the person asking the questions wanted to know about.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's not all I want to know, but there's, you know, I think it's important, because you haven't been super vocal, and you haven't been out there doing 50 million interviews, and a lot of people, you know, don't really know what you've been up to since leaving the band, and we're going to get into that. But before that, one thing I'm really fascinated with is, you know, can you tell me and tell people listening to this, like, what is it like getting to the point that you're in a band where you're making a decent living, you're headlining shows, you know, and you're getting to the point where you're headlining big theaters, you're headlining over bands that you know, respected, and all of a sudden, you know, you're, for all intents and purposes, a success story doing extreme music. It's not, you guys weren't on the radio, you weren't that kind of a band. I mean, you were really unique and established yourselves and created, you know, this
cult following, and what was that like?
That was like ecstasy, man. It was, it was having the best job in the world. I mean, I could still find issues with day-to-day problems in terms of like getting down about whatever, but I vividly remember couldn't have been happier.
So you had a tour where you headlined over Cannibal Corpse?
No, we did a co-headliner, and
or was
then
that Behemoth?
yeah, it was. I think there's 2 of those that went down in the UK. And one of them was like, it was us, Behemoth, Suicide Silence, like these stack bills that were awesome and great shows. And
how big are those shows? How many people you play in front of?
Well, like the Cannibal one, where in the UK we were the headliner. Like, we did the forums. I think it was sold out like 2,800 people.
And you guys closed or they closed?
We closed.
And so you're closed. Was there a walkout or did people stay?
No, I believe they stayed. Yeah.
You know what, Doc? I believe they stayed.
I believe they stayed.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you what if anybody loves music, it's like when your agent calls you, how about this bill? You guys, Cannibal Corpse, Black Dahlia. Like, you're like, what? But also to be, when we hit the mainland, though, then it was
they
Cannibal closed. Yeah, and stuff like that. So,
but even still, I mean, Cannibal Corpse, that's a band you grew up listening to,
Yeah.
that you revere, that you put on this pedestal. I
Yeah.
would assume so, or maybe not. Maybe I don't.
Oh, I put him on a huge pedestal, and even in the mainland, it was still co-billing,
Yeah.
So it was cool. Yeah, it was those kind of. I mean, even in America, man, to just even with like co-headlining with like Whitechapel and stuff, those newer bands that are so competitive, hard band to tour with, but because they are fucking demons up there.
They bring the thunder, man.
They bring the pain. That was fucking cheesy, but yeah.
Bring the pain, man.
Yeah, I mean, to just answer your question, like, it's as good as you think it feels, and it's so reassuring, man. Like, of just, I knew I was supposed to do this, like, that kind of mentality, and like, it just brings happiness and fucking, not like I was a person who's seeking validation all the time, but it just, goddamn, did it feel good, and just being feeling like you're in life, you're on the path you're supposed to be,
Did like your parents and stuff like that, were they?
Oh, they loved it.
Were they? But was that like a kind of when you hit that moment, or when they get to see you do like a big, U.S. headline show, and all of a sudden they come see you, and it's not Ozfest or something where you're obviously one of many, but it's your show and there's a shitload of people there.
Yeah, I would get the
how-
biggest kick out of that. Like, my dad would, me and him like to drink or whatever, like after the show, he'd be like, "You're doing it, man. You're really doing it." Like, and my mother, she is the reason why I'm here. She's the number one supporter of me, always has been, like, always had my back with like getting me gear when I was a kid, bought my first drum set. Like, she believed in me, and, there'll be 20 people at a show if I played in the beginning or whatever, she just, you're amazing, just always telling me I'm the best. You're my son.
That's great. Support is important. Remember that, parents. Tell your young children that they're on the right path. We're hopefully on the right path. If you have a whack ass band and you're terrible, also tell your kids that. Don't let these motherfuckers walking around disillusioned.
My dad was that guy.
Oh, when you were sucked?
When it comes to material and stuff, he'd be like, I don't know, it's not so good.
Oh yeah, he would keep it real with you.
Yeah, and like our live show, he's like, when we were starting off, he'd like watch us, and then he'd watch the headliner. Oh yeah, that headliner way better than you guys. Like, he'd be like, oh, that In Flames band, yeah, they got their shit together. Or I remember like some Slipknot shows. I'm like, why aren't you doing stuff like that, John? Jesus, look at those masks.
My aunt and mother came out to the Ozfest we did with you guys, and I saw my aunt not that long ago in Jersey, and she was like, that show was incredible.
Yeah.
Slipknot. She's still talking about Slipknot. It's 12 years went by.
Yeah.
You did that. You can get the 50 plus black woman demographic as a metal band. You're onto something. All right. So you leave the band 2 years ago, roughly, something around that. Around 2 years ago. So what?
I'll tell you how I started.
All right, all right, yeah. What do you do? Like, you decide now before you said I'm leaving the band. Did you have a plan before, or you kind of quit the band and then you figured it out?
I always thought I had plans.
thought
you know, like, but to be honest, I quit, and I'm like, all right. The number one goal is to not repeat myself. I have zero interest in putting out a Devildriver Part 2. It just won't be as good.
Yeah.
And so, given that, I went on a long journey because I can write songs.
You can write songs?
I can write songs.
Don't break your arm patting yourself on the back, bro.
Yeah. No, I meant like, not like, I can write a song. I meant like, okay, at least as a departure for someone who can't write songs in a big band might be a different experience.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, okay, I can bet on myself a little bit.
You're in control of your fate.
Yeah, so I started off and I went all over the map of writing different kinds of rock music, stuff like that, thinking that I didn't want to do metal anymore, that kind of stuff. And that stuff's all still laying around. And I remember at one point it got absurd. Like I checked out this song I wrote and I was like, this is just fucking shit.
What
Like,
stuff was it?
It's just with certain people I was working on a band, and shit is the wrong word. It was just like it was so poppy and just I was like, I can't do this. But I wanted to see what I was capable of trying and what I would react to and liked. So
You were being experimental.
yeah. And some of that stuff I still like,
Or
musically,
Or say sowing your creative oats.
Yeah.
Kind of getting out there.
And
but even before that, but even not just from a creative standpoint or music standpoint, in a sense, you'd left a job that you knew maybe you didn't know exactly what you were going to make, but it was pretty predictable as far as how you're going to pay your bills. What did you think, or what did you do about that? Like, what did you say? All right, I'm gonna go into this field, or I'm gonna pay my bills like this, or what was that kind of thought process like?
Simultaneously, while trying to get a new creative vision going, I also stepped into management and
Management of what, John?
musical acts.
So an artist manager.
Yeah. And a good friend of mine, Eric German, who's a lawyer, kind of took me under his wing and introduced me to certain people and kind of just, help spread the word when I was like shopping a band or whatever. He would help me out with that, and I owe a lot to him. And then, my first crack at that was like Painted Wives. I got them signed to Century Media, working with another band called In Search of Sun still. And they, looks like they're going to get a deal any day now.
So you got into artist management primarily as like, this is kind of like your day job, or is this something you're passionate about? What is it about that artist management that
I would say I had a passion for just helping people out, and also when you love a band, you just want to see them do well. And also, I remember sometimes when I'd play a show and my manager would be on tour with us for like a couple days, you walk in the door, I'm like, that motherfucker just made a lot of money. It's like, it's also a possible end game for me, in terms of, I'm not going to be possibly playing drums when I'm 60 or something.
So in a sense, it's it has a backup plan to a certain degree. Like,
there's backup plan written all over it.
Yeah. But it's something you feel like you can do. Do you feel like you can adequately be an artist and be an artist manager at the same time and give both kind of what they both need?
Depending on how, depending on your drive. Yeah. Look at Blasco, people like that dabble in both.
Well, if people don't know, Blasco is the bass player for Ozzy Osbourne. He's also played for Rob Zombie. And he runs a management called Mercenary Management, and he
also manages Devildriver now.
Oh, he manages Devildriver. He's getting the money that John would have gotten had he stayed in the band before he fucked up. No, but he manages In This Moment, Butcher Babies, Zach Wilde's, what's that band? The Black Veil Brides. So, he's very successful and
a really cool guy. And there was a couple conversations we had about, him giving me advice. I remember he was like, I asked him about management. He goes, man, 10 years ago when I stopped being in Rob Zombie, I was in the same shoes as you right now, and he presented a couple opportunities for me that never really got to go through. But just in general, he was a very sweet man and returned my emails, stuff like that, questions.
Yeah, just remember, Blasco, you're a sweet man.
Sweet man.
That's right. And that's how the next time we see you, we're going to greet you. as being very sweet. No. And to give some background, I've also kind of done some work with John, dabbling in artist management, a little bit helping out with this band, In Search of Sun, who's a British band, who is awesome, and we love. We're trying to help them out. Unlike John, though, I haven't really been able to put on the management hat fully, because I personally feel like I couldn't really commit to the management side of things because I'm too entrenched as an artist, and I think for me to actually become an artist manager, I'd probably have to give up doing music creatively, because it's, I still have that in me, So, I mean, I think, we're a little different in that. I don't know if you want to elaborate.
I'm still at a bit of a crossroads, It's like, am I a manager or, but like right now with my new band, Eye of Tongues, which we'll get to.
Let's get to that. Let's talk about this this quitting the band and figuring out what you're going to do.
Yeah. It took a bit, and then, enter Max Karen.
Max Karen. So
which is a Devildriver tech. That's how I met him. Max Karen is a Devildriver. That's our relationship began there. So and I used to watch this motherfucker play guitar at soundcheck, and I'd be like, God damn. He would show me a couple demos he would work on. I'd be like, fucking this dude, Jesus Christ. And I approached him when I was like, you know what? Like, I need to stick to my roots. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to hit up this Max dude, and I also felt very stale as a player. So I'm like, I'm going to start taking lessons from David Elich, which, God bless you, David. You really helped me out.
Who's David Elich?
He is a, whatever you call it, drummer for hire, teacher, session dude. He's played for Miley Cyrus, Killer Be Killed, Mars Volta. He plays for 1975 right now, I believe, and he's all over the place. He's that kind of drummer.
He's one of those dudes. He's
one of those.
He's
dudes.
in the 1% of the 1%.
He made me feel like a fool when I got in the room. Like, oh my God! And he helped me change. He's like, well, we started with the way I held my sticks, and I went back to basics and stuff like that, because I felt I needed to expand my playing, because I'm not so interested in trying to compete with freaking Ben from Whitechapel anymore. Like, speed is not something that tickles my taint. Mm-hmm. So I knew I needed to express more on the drums, and I needed to learn more. So I did that, and meeting Max, once we got into a room and started writing, it was instant. Like, he was the guitar player I've been looking for, and with my sort of songwriting background skills and his playing skills, I think we really created something fucking awesome.
Now, for the record, this is Eye of Tongues.
This is Eye of Tongues.
Okay, so you and Max, you're getting together, you're working on stuff. Now, with this, how much is he writing and how much are you writing as far as bringing in riffs and
yeah,
pieces?
It totally changed. When it started, I brought in, I don't know, 3 songs or something, and it was the first time too where I'd be like, all right, here's this riff, blah blah blah, and we would demo out some drums, and then I just looked at the guitar and I just handed it to him, like, yeah, you fucking play it, like, it's like, and he would put his own twist on everything, and then by the 4th song, I wouldn't even come in with a riff. We would just talk about ideas and what kind of song we want to write, and his motherfucker just comes with it.
So he wouldn't come in with stuff done?
No. Towards the end, when sometimes we wanted to be a little bit more productive and shrink down the songwriting process, I'd like, do a little work on your own and stuff, and then he would send me stuff, and I'd pick and choose and come and go, start here and here and there. But it was the first time towards the end where I literally wasn't at picking up a guitar at all and letting him get it all done, and it was fucking awesome.
Right on. So Max, wherever you are, this unheralded genius on the guitar, he's the one that came in, made this stuff happen. But he's a guitar tech. He techs for
I think right now he's teching for Mice of Men. Yeah.
Okay.
Does some Fear Factory tech stuff too.
So do you have any other band members you wish to talk about right now? You don't have to. I know some things, but by the time this podcast actually comes out, it might not. It might be a month or so from when we actually recorded this. So, I don't.
Yeah, there is a guitar player that just joined the band. I think you might know him.
I know him?
It's possible.
Maybe.
That would be Coyle, everybody.
Yes, I will be playing with his band, but much like anything, I will take no credit for anything. I'm showing up late. You know, it's like you show up to a party with a bunch of like drinks and hors d'oeuvres, and you don't bring nothing to the party. You just go right in the fridge. You grab you a Sam Adams and some chips and guac, and you eat other people's shit because that is better. You know, it's not better, but sometimes you do that. You know, sometimes you just didn't get a chance to go to the store and get a casserole. You know.
Well, I'm glad we could bake for you. And
well, thank you.
It's eating time. But yeah, so there's still a little bit of lineup situations to do, but the record is getting mixed right now. And the vocalist, I think I'll wait on expressing who that is. Yeah, he's a known name, though. Yeah, he's a known name. And when it's announced, I think people will go, oh, okay, yeah. People won't be like, who's that? And I'm really excited just to describe it. It's just mainly singing and not much screaming, and that's really fucking hard to do.
Was that
coming from a background of just all screaming?
Was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, I felt that would be the only way I could really do something that was different than Devildriver. Like, I just need to write music that isn't anything like that. And so to do that, yeah, how about singing instead of screaming? But you got to go back to the drawing board a bunch, because it's just it's shocking how hard it is to write a song when you can't just go, oh, yeah, scream there, scream there, scream there.
Well, the thing is, when you're dealing with melodic vocals, you literally have to write a new song on top of the song.
Yeah, you used to make fun of me, or like we'd be partying and be like, you know, I'd be talking about the band. You'd be like, motherfucker, you don't even know who's singing on it yet. Like, you know, and I'd be like, I know. You're like, yeah, there was definitely some at points where I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to ask some dudes who have the best screaming voice involved. And those people were just, you know, too busy to come around. Like, I remember, and you're like, you say you want singing, but then you just ask this dude, you know, I remember some of those conversations.
Yeah, so
that was me, this like getting out of lack of options, you know, like, and I started to get nervous, and I was like, fuck it, I need to just find somebody. But things settled down and worked out.
So what, all right, so you've been working on this project off and on for a couple years, you know, what keeps you going? Like, what's that drives you to say, you know, because at the point you're at right now, like, it's just now kind of coming to realization in terms of putting the band together and all that stuff. But like what do you think it is about someone like you that you can like quit some big band and just go and start from scratch? Like, what is it that like every day gets you, like, that makes you want to persevere as opposed to just joining like some other big band?
I would consider joining a bigger band, and some of those options kind of tingled around a little bit, but never really came to fruition whatsoever. Like, when I say they came around, like, very loosely, but like, I would consider that, but I don't want to be. I would love to just have my own band, you know, and like not ride off somebody else's coattails. That's an easy way out.
Yeah.
But some of that stuff did happen, to be honest, and no point of really going into who those bands are. But
you just did a stint with Devil You Know, and then you just played with Snot, right?
Yeah, that's not really what I'm talking about, because those were just like, hey, we need you for this show or this tour.
Yeah, it wasn't like join the band.
Yeah, it wasn't like join the band. But what keeps me doing a new band is just like, it's literally really, besides my wife or something like that, the only thing that really keeps me happy, you know, is music. And it feels so good to just fucking get through all the hurdles and like fucking slave over music and fucking want to punch yourself in the face because you think you suck one day and the next you're confident. Like, I just love that game, man. Like,
yeah.
It's a good time. And like, what's that AWOL Nation line, you know? He's like, it's not supposed to be easy. That's why it feels so fucking good. And it's just like, that's what I'm all about, you know?
Yeah. You know what? Listen, I can identify with, you know, me doing my project, Vegas Nerve, you know, where we're, doing everything by ourselves. We're paying for recording studios, and we're paying for a video shoot, and we're paying for travel, and we're paying to get artwork made, and you know, outside of just the money, just the physical hours that go into doing those things. I think, you know, and I don't want to give us too much credit, but I think there's definitely something to be said for guys over 30.
Oh yeah, over 30 here.
Who just left, established bands. Because people don't realize, I think, sometimes how much of a value that name value is. Like, you can literally get rid of all the members, come back with 5 new people, but as long as it has that name, it has some value in the marketplace. And when you decide to not seek that and go kind of like, all right, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to go out and grind. Because, at the end of our careers with our other bands, you're not spending money on stuff. The money is, there's a budget, and there's an album budget comes from a label, and there's a tour. You get paid, the X amount per day and everything. So you're making money from the band. You're not spending. And then you decide, hey, I'm going to start something brand new.
Yeah, it's not like I'm naive and didn't realize. Maybe naive's not the word. It's just like, yeah, that reality hit me rather quickly. Like, all right, I got to pay for studio time, not like all that stuff. It's, yeah, you got to, you'll fall real quick to the wayside in terms of being over 30. And like, if you really want to do it, you're going to have to work your fucking ass off, because I'm not down to sleep at my friend's house for, 2 months. Like, I got bills to pay and stuff, and saving money to, I had to work to save money to do the drums with Mark Lewis. Stuff like that, like, or thankfully for home recording studios, we were able to do the guitars and bass at home, but we had to pay for all the vocal studio time, all that stuff, So yeah, there's a lot of money I've invested in this already, and it has no deal, it has no nothing. So I'm betting on myself, and the fear of that is partially what I'm attracted to.
Do you have any like short-term goals, long-term goals, anything like you're saying, all right, this is what I want to do with this band?
What I've learned over the past 2 years is not to think too far ahead, man, because it just stresses you the fuck out. Short-term goal. I mean, yes, it's always important to have long-term goals. Yeah, let's bring this thing to a level that's fucking working. But right now, it's let's play the first show, like, and that in itself is a lot of work. So, I just want to prove to myself, and that first show will be it. And prove to the other band members that are involved in this, like, we're real, like, and we're playing a show, and we're not going to shop this without playing a show. We're not going to sit there with our hand out and say, who wants this, based on anybody's name or anything. We're just going to try and, like, fucking be good enough where people come to us.
Yeah. I feel that, and I'll say this as far as, me playing with different projects and bands, since I've been away from God Forbid, is that pretty much if your shit is whack, Doc Cole's not showing up. Okay. I'm not, and that's not really to sit here and say I'm this great guy or anything, but I want to be a part of stuff that I enjoy and music that I can get up there as a performer and feel it without fakery. I really, and I can say, when people hear this stuff, that it, for me, I remember when he first started showing me the stuff, and at the time I wasn't, people have heard Vegas Nerve or even some of the, the band Mates Hall I play with, like, it's kind of a rock metal hybrid. That's where that's been kind of like my wheelhouse lately. And this stuff is metal that when I heard it, I was like, I felt like outclassed to a certain degree, or kind of like, all right, yeah, I should keep playing rock and roll, because clearly this next level of metal stuff is like, it's and I think that happens just evolutionarily. There we go.
There it is. There it is.
With music like this, is that you can see how things progress, and it gets more complex, and it kind of takes on new forms, and actually,
and you were there from the beginning. Like, I would bounce so much stuff off you, like, because after you just start writing a bunch of stuff and you cancel that idea and you're starting a new band, I mean, you do go through periods of lack of confidence, like, and like sometimes you just need your buddy to go, yo, shit is dope, like, like, and I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, get back on the track here, all right, it's like, it's like, I can't explain to anybody out there who's been in one band for 12 years and you leave how hard it is to try and reinvent yourself. And I think I did the first round. This will be a good job.
Can I have a question about So coming from Devildriver, which was kind of like a post new metal meets new wave of American heavy metal kind of sound, like, did you feel like in those last few records with Devildriver, as comparison to where you are now with Eye of Tongues, that like does that feel stale by comparison, or like less? No.
When you're in a band, you're biased as fuck, and I still think like Beast and Winter Kills. I love those records. I think they're great. You know, I'll read something online where Long Life fans totally disagree with that, but I think for the players that were in there and what we created, I still think is awesome.
Yeah.
However, I will say, playing live in that band towards the end, like when you become emotionally detached from something and you think you're going to quit again and stuff like that, like I remember the last show, and this isn't trying to be rude or anything, like I just didn't feel anything. Yeah. Like I was just like, I wondered if I'd walk off stage with this really heavy romantic sentiment, like there it was, man, fucking last show, 12 years, like, you know, I thought I literally like fucking cool, Tech got my shit, cool, I'll grab a beer, go fucking hang out with some boys. Like it didn't even cross my mind, and that's like a true sign that I was detached, and like writing another record with that band just seemed impossible to me. I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely felt, you know, with God Forbid at the end, trying to kind of squeeze more juice from that fruit, I think, of that sound. You know, it seemed any time you kind of go back to that well, there's less water there. You know, so you can't really get to a pure and inspiring place without, you know, going new places and trying different things.
You've created a brand with God Forbid, and stepping too far away from that, like Devildriver had a brand and a sound, and like there was a lot of things I wanted to do, but it would be completely illogical with a singer like Dez. And we do have a fan base that expects a certain amount. Yeah. And we just were never that band. Like we weren't Deftones that were going to do Around the Fur and then throw White Pony at you. You know, it's like we were more right up the middle, not too experimental, not too technical, you know. And in the end, sometimes you can't win everybody over, you know.
So one cool question: what do you think about the new Devildriver record that you're not a part of?
I think it sounds like Devildriver, you know?
Okay. That sounds very, very diplomatic of you, sir.
I mean, is it my favorite record of all the Devildrivers? No. Is it, I haven't listened to it enough to be like, yo, shit is whack. I just remember, of course, I'm fucking curious. Like that was a really actually fun for me, like to actually go, oh my God, like fuck it, let's hear it. Like, you know, I'm not in it anymore. I thought it was pleasurable and exciting to go, okay, let's see what they fucking see what my, because I love Mike too. I was like, let's see what my boy did, like, you know, let's see how he came. And I think they stuck to the brand name, and they stuck to the songs that kind of what was built up over the years. And I would have, it doesn't matter what I think what they should or shouldn't have done. I just think they did a good job at sticking with the plan. Yeah, you know?
I think it's very solid, and it sounds like a Devildriver record. Yeah, but it's a little more similar. And I hate to keep bringing comparisons to God Forbid, but it's my show, so I'm gonna do what the fuck I want. But like our last record without Dallas, we ended up going more straightforward, more to the point, less kind of experimental, and that it kind of reminds me of that in a way. And it seems like, I know the record sales were good the first week, so it definitely, seems like at least stateside people were ready to hear that band again.
And they were coming off a record that did well. Winter Kills outsold Beast, which is kind of cool. In this day and age,
in its totality,
like by like 12,000 units. Wow. So it's kind of cool when you're that late in the game and your last record did better than the one before, because that's usually not the case. Usually sales keep declining. But yeah, so they were coming off a good record too, which means, I don't know, people were interested, and it seems to me that Devildriver's business as usual. You know,
right on, man. Well, so I pretty much got what I wanted, but I want to cover one more subject before we wrap up. People might not know this, but John is good friends with Philip H. Anselmo. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I would say when I use the word good friends, like we've had a lot of experiences together, but
You have a relationship with
a relationship. But when I say good friends, it's like, no. But like, he's not calling me on Thanksgiving asking how Nancy, my mom's doing.
All right. So question one, how did you end up kind of developing a rapport with Phil?
Let's see. Just the first tour we did was Superjoint Ritual. When I say I'm a fan of that dude, no, that's an understatement. Like, he is my number one, so any chance I fucking was around him, I tried to hang out, whatever. And I sure for years, he was just like, hey, this fucking kid,
Hey,
Dez's little,
damn it.
goddamn Dez's little boy.
Hey, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. And, I don't know, and then, at some point after fucking years or whatever, he looks at you like, hey, what's your fucking email? You're like,
So Phil's game is he's on that email game. That's where he's on the email too.
He's not a phone call.
Like, hey man, I do fucking emails like no one you ever heard of.
Yeah, but dude, he had Devildriver's back hard, and gave us our first tour, and fucking shows would down or whatever. Anytime we're in New Orleans, he would invite us over to his house, stuff like that. All based on his relationship with Dez, because those two are tight too.
What's Phil's house like? Does that shit look like a horror movie?
Is
it like Texas Chainsaw
to
Massacre?
me, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. There's no flat screens in there. It's filled with just weird shit, and he's a collector, and between the Pantera plaques and the walls of just boxing tapes, and he's got a big arcade game selection going on, but then there's there's animals everywhere, and he lives very modestly, he's not into having feng shui and good furniture, it's just it was a trip going to his house the first time, being such.
So we need like one good Phil story, something.
Trying to think.
Something crazy that happened, all right?
Crazy? I
don't know, just something. Come on, man. I don't get to hang out with Phil, all right? All I get to do is do Phil's voice to myself, like, hey, Doc.
There's a bunch of stories. I don't even know. There's details about some stories that I wouldn't want to get into, but just in general, Phil's been pissed at me before.
Why was he pissed at you?
I'm not gonna get into that.
Oh, you can't get see, man. This is why people tune in, man. They want to hear the good shit.
When
man.
that dude is when he's pissed at you, it's like fucking terrifying. That guy is fucking scary.
Did he physically intimidate you? Get up in your personal space?
He has a little bit, but it doesn't bother me. I think that guy's fucking hilarious. And, I know he's had a rough patch with the media lately and stuff like that.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. I personally have spent a lot of time with that guy. I've been around many people of different colors around that guy. I've never seen him be racist before. I know he has done some shit on stage and said some shit on stage, and I truly believe that his statement, he's like, I have a problem of overindulging in alcohol and blurting out blunt, abrasive shit. And I think if everybody, there's no excuse for what he did.
Yeah.
None. But if I had a camera on me a couple times, some of the dumb shit.
A lot of N-bombs coming from John Boecklin, right?
No, not that stuff. Just in general, people people fucking make mistakes, and I don't view Phil Anselmo as a racist.
Yeah.
Based on my personal experiences, which is a lot of them. And I have his back. And but however, if you don't, I understand.
Well,
not you personally, but just in general. Yeah. If someone can't get past that, that's their total right, and it's not cool what he did. So what are you gonna do?
Well, I wrote a pretty in-depth piece about the Phil Anselmo situation, and in many ways I wrote probably more about where, as a society in America, what we're kind of dealing with in terms of how we respond to people who fuck up, because I think at the end of the day, he fucked up, and he would admit that, but he's also a guy who has a past. He's not a first time offender, as we would say it, and and what was more, because I think it's really easy on one way or the other to either apologize for him if you're a fan or if you're someone who's kind of maybe a little bit more on the right wing anti-PC kind of side of things, or it's very easy to castigate him and say, "Fuck you! I'm never going to talk to you. I'm never going to deal with you." I think either way, I think I tend, and I don't know because I'm a Libra or whatever it is, but I tend to be somewhere in the middle on these things, and I think it's how do we move once someone fucks up, how do we move forward? And I think that's really the interesting thing.
I think he's doing a good job at it moving forward. I think I personally believe he said in his statement, overindulgence of alcohol. I believe he's been stopped drinking, and he laid low, and he's going to creep back, and those who will accept him will, and those who won't.
Well, I think for him, it's all about the goodwill forward, because I think I don't know if that was his second strike or his third strike, but I don't know if there will be a fourth strike.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like in terms of the benefit of the doubt, because I think at the end of the day,
I think if you go looking around, you'll find enough stuff that maybe you won't give him the benefit of the doubt. He just has radical views sometimes that he's expressed, and
is he honest? But the thing is I think what other people, since you have a better relationship, is he really honest though? Like if he has radical views, is he telling that to people, or is they only creep out in moments like that? Like, is that him saying white power? Is that one of his radical views?
No. I mean, this is well documented through the 90s and stuff. Just his reverse racism. He probably has a lot of personal experiences when he was younger or something that I was watching an interview with him a while ago, where he's like, I get in the 90s or something with a shaved head and stuff in New Orleans, and people would come after him of different races or whatever, I guess,
that's when shaving your head was a lot less common, and it was directly associated with
maybe he just who am I to speak for Phil and what he really believes and stuff, but like I think maybe he'd just been using that word reverse racism. I don't know. Some people say that doesn't even exist. I don't know. But I feel a little uncomfortable, like trying to discuss his personal life and his views, because he's not my friend like that. Like, he doesn't go, Boecklin, all right, so what do you think about this? Yeah. I'm just talking about what the things I've experienced is just like, he's got black people in his band, for Christ's sakes. Like, Kevin.
Which band?
Superjoint. Kevin's black.
Is he? I don't know. He ain't that black.
Yeah, he's not that black. But,
you know what I'm saying? You need to get some real brothers in there. Come on, Phil.
Yeah.
You know what? Matter of fact, if you want to, Phil, this is to you. If you want to let everyone know you're not racist, call this guy Coyle. He could play guitar. So you if you need, or maybe you can do Superjoint Ritual, but all black dudes, and I'll go get the dudes, and then that will be part of your campaign to get back in order. We will help you.
It was always a good one-liner from him. I always enjoyed. Trevor from Unearth always loved this one. I don't know why, but like one time we went out to eat and we got in a cab, and this cab driver is like, "So, where are y'all from?" And just, I don't know, if you love Phil, you just know that he's like, "I'm from a band called Pantera." Like, it's just everything that comes out of that fucking dude's mouth is just classic. I don't know. So, he's a unique individual, and I love him.
Well, this the space of the X-Men. This is a safe space. We can talk about stuff. We can say our opinions without necessarily throwing people under the bus. And I know John. I've had the fortune to tour with Phil on a couple different tours, but I haven't really interacted with him. So I don't have these awesome stories. So I was hoping to get a good story about Phil, punching someone or throwing someone through a window, or doing something like that. We didn't get that this time, but
one funny one I remember, we were listening on Ozfest. We were listening to Superjoint in the back lounge. He loves to listen to his own shit, just fucking bump it, and he started getting a little aggro, and he started nudging, blah blah blah, and I was fired up, so I fucking wrecked him a little bit, back in the back of the tour buses, they have those stereos where they're enclosed in glass.
Okay.
And the glass doors were open. So I kind of smashed him. And when I say smashed him, not like fucked him up or anything, but like I hit him a little harder than I definitely should have. And his head went right into the corner of the glass and split his head open in the middle.
Jesus,
and blood
Boecklin.
just started, coming down his fucking head. And like everybody in the back was like, Boecklin. Like everyone just stopped, like you fucking. And I was like, what the fuck just happened right here? And then like he just like blood's in his face. He's hammered. He's like, this is fucking awesome, man. Like, and then we got together, got the photo with the blood down his head. You know, like so. You know, that was a pretty classic.
Yo,
moment
that
for me.
happened when I saw Down. It might have been the last time I saw Down. They played in New York at the Best Buy Theater, and something happened. It was maybe the mic or something where he was bleeding on his head, and it was like, and it was this show was fucking sick.
Yeah.
It was still when Kirk was still in the band, and he was bleeding, and it was awesome. So I think that's a good way to end it, brother. I love you. Thanks for coming on.
I love you too, and I Tongues should be at least a song released by the end of the year. Definitely, hopefully by then, and keep your eye out for it. And thanks for having me on, Doc, man. It's fucking rad.
Of course, man. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Peace out.
So that was our talk with John Boecklin. I love that dude. Really glad he could be my first guest on the X-Men. So what I'm going to do as a little thing to send you off is I'm going to play the Vegas Nerve song called Pull Me Out. And this is a song we actually, I guess it's our first single, but it's a song we shot a video for. And I think it best kind of describes, you know, it kind of sums up the EP we did. It's the first song we wrote. The video is awesome. I'm really excited about it. So I hope you guys check it out, enjoy it. And this is your X-Men signing off. Onward and upward.
This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network.